Hello everyone. Welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In episode 72, we talked about the story of Primordial Red Gi. Then, in episode 73, we followed up with a discussion on Primordial Blue Rain. In the subsequent stories, Rain appeared frequently, becoming the most humorous and quirky character among the primordial demons. In contrast, the story of Primordial Green Misery was mentioned much less frequently throughout the TenSura series. In episode 27, we discussed Misery's confrontation with Testarossa, but in later stories, Misery mostly appeared alongside Rain and often seemed like a supporting character. In this episode, we'll dive into some interesting anecdotes about Primordial Green Misery and Primordial Blue Rain. Most of this content is drawn from the TenSura short story collections. So, let's get started. Primordial Green Misery was the loyal subordinate of the strongest primordial demon, Gi, and also a watcher of human societies. As we mentioned in Rain's autobiographical story in episode 73, Misery took her assignments from Gi very seriously and responsibly, which was entirely different from Rain's approach. Rain often found ways to delegate her tasks to her subordinates, or Misery. Moreover, the duties of the blue demons were relatively simpler compared to those of the green demons, sometimes involving nothing more than cleaning. Misery controlled countless pawns similar to the Apostles of Vert, infiltrating numerous nations. This allowed her to detect any political or social movements across countries almost instantly. Misery steadfastly carried out the mission entrusted to her by Gi, firmly believing that humans were foolish beings who would inevitably lead themselves to destruction if left unchecked. Meanwhile, Primordial Red Gi also had to uphold his mutual agreement with Rudra. Faced with the powerful and unified Eastern Empire and the equally formidable original hero emperor, Rudra, Misery, as the executor, had to find ways to unite the scattered nations of the Western region. Of course, those familiar with the story know that the Western nations were a complete mess. Although the Rosso family had members embedded in various royal families across different nations and appeared united on the surface, they would inevitably turn on each other during critical moments. Despite this, Misery spared no effort in fulfilling her mission, working tirelessly to achieve her objectives. In Misery's view, she wasn't alone in tackling these arduous tasks, as she had Primordial Blue Rain as a reliable companion. Yes, Misery's assessment of Rain was surprisingly high. Although it had been Rain's terrible idea to convince Misery to join her in challenging Gi, both were ultimately grateful to have ended up serving under Gi after their defeat. Misery believed that Rain's reckless actions had inadvertently led to the right outcome. In Misery's opinion, even though Rain was the youngest among the primordial demons, she was both talented and adorable, especially when it came to the arts. Rain displayed extraordinary abilities in singing, dancing, painting, and sculpting, all of which she had mastered to perfection despite putting in less than 60% of her effort. Even in her work, Rain demonstrated exceptional competence. While her attitude seemed careless, she still managed to complete her tasks with first-class results. Misery genuinely hoped Rain could achieve even greater heights and often encouraged her to put in more effort. Of course, these suggestions were met only with Rain's indifferent responses. Deep down, Rain had no desire to work harder, she preferred to slack off rather than strive. Yet, this only made Misery admire Rain even more, considering her genuine and straightforward nature. From this perspective, Misery came across more like an older sister to Rain, indulging and tolerating her, much like Trainee's attitude toward Ramrus. On the other hand, it's also possible that Rain was highly skilled at manipulating others and successfully brainwashed Misery. As mentioned earlier, it was Rain's reckless provocation plan that led to both of them being defeated by Gi. However, Misery believed Rain's surprising luck ultimately brought them names and the strongest, most benevolent master. Rain's ability to shape Misery's unconventional perspective stemmed from multiple situations where her seemingly absurd actions produced unexpected results. Take, for example, her interactions with Testarossa. As the second-born primordial demon, TenSura possessed not only immense strength but also an intimidating level of intelligence and cunning. Her growing influence began to disrupt the world's balance. Rain, in her audacious manner, brazenly provoked TenSura. The result was shocking. Rain, who had a physical body and undergone evolution to become a demon peer, was thoroughly beaten and sent back in tears by TenSura, who hadn't even obtained a name and a physical body at the time. However, Rain insisted afterward that their fight had ended in a draw. Surprisingly, Rain even managed to calm TenSura's fury. The story doesn't explain how she did this, but it's speculated that Rain may have drawn a portrait for TenSura, a gesture that perhaps genuinely placated her. Later, due to TenSura's overwhelming power, Primordial Black Diablo judged that allowing TenSura to continue unchecked could pose a significant threat. As a result, Diablo orchestrated a plan involving Ultima and Carrera, pitting them against TenSura in a prolonged struggle for netherworld supremacy. Meanwhile, Guy and Misery worked behind the scenes to balance the power dynamics among the three Primordial Demon Beauties. Of course, TenSura was well aware of this scheme but chose not to acknowledge that she had been outplayed by Diablo. Instead, she participated in Ultima and Carrera's provocations with a playful attitude. For her, even the combined efforts of Ultima and Carrera posed no threat. To make the competition fairer, TenSura went so far as to impose a rule on herself. Only her subordinates could obtain physical bodies and participate, while she, as a primordial demon, would not directly involve herself. Please note here that, back then, all the three primordial demon beauties had not been given names. We are using their names here solely for the convenience of telling the story. Although Rain failed, her failure unexpectedly brought stability to the netherworld. Even Guy himself praised Rain. It is precisely because of these serendipitous outcomes that Misery has developed a strange confidence in Rain, believing that as long as Rain takes action, things will always turn out well. This story feels very similar to Rain's behavior in our episode 83. During the campaign to surround the Golden City El Dorado, Rain confidently declared before the battle that she was putting in more effort than ever before, which filled Misery with high expectations for Rain's capabilities. However, when facing Pico and Gracia, Rain showed no motivation due to the cold weather. Misery assumed Rain's actions must have deeper strategic considerations. After all, primordial demons shouldn't feel cold. But Rain simply stated that she didn't want to fight opponents she didn't dislike. Misery was utterly shocked, even more so when Pico and Gracia agreed with Rain's reasoning. Before Misery could recover, the three had already started a feast in an ice cave. With no other choice, Misery reluctantly went along and ended up being punished alongside Rain. Strangely enough, it was through these actions that Rain managed to obtain crucial information about the control range of the Lord of Justice. Misery believed that even under torture, Pico and Gracia wouldn't have shared this information, yet it was acquired so effortlessly. This event further solidified Misery's belief that she must fully support Rain's actions. Additionally, Misery exhibited a strong sense of protection toward Rain. She never questioned Rain's motives, even in the face of Gi-sama's doubts or reprimands. Misery steadfastly defended Rain, insisting her actions were necessary and reasonable. For instance, Rain often sneaked out of the Frost Palace under the pretense of observing the human world, but in reality, she offloaded her work onto her subordinate Mizora to slack off. Her actions were so poorly executed that even Guy noticed. When confronted by Guy, Misery argued that Rain's behavior was not a recent development but a regular occurrence, and she firmly believed Rain was diligently carrying out what she considered her duties. Misery's unwavering defense of Rain even left Guy at a loss for words. Furthermore, Rain even made requests to Misery for things like renovating hideouts, building luxury mansions, or secretly enrolling in the Magic Academy. After all, Misery's apostles of Vert wielded immense power and influence in the Western nations, seemingly capable of accomplishing anything with ease. Although Misery occasionally felt puzzled by these requests, she never refused Rain's demands. Instead, she saw it as her duty to support her companion. Misery believed that as long as Rain was pursuing tasks she deemed important, it was her responsibility to provide assistance. Alright, That's all for this video. The story of Primordial Green Misery is relatively limited, and her personality is more conventional, so the TenSura novels don't dedicate much space to her character. However, the author might include more about Misery in future installments. Our upcoming stories might be a bit shorter, but we will take the opportunity to supplement similar background stories in the next few episodes. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.